Hello, LUGOLOYdians. Today we are going to have a discussion because it is Friday, which means that is the holiest day of the week. But I'm not wrong, according to Islam.
Speaking of.
So yeah, real slide.
Transition.
Real slide is getting that into conversation. So those of you that have been watching the channel for a hot second, anyway,
All 25 of you.
realize by now that I'm a practicing Muslim, and so first question that comes to mind, because they realize, oh, he's Muslim.
He's white.
But he's white.
Whoa!
Then there's gray matter everywhere and whatnot. So today we were going over, was it why I am Muslim or my conversion story or what we're doing?
Yeah, like basically this is going to be because I feel like it's relevant. And if you guys don't know, I recently started my own personal channel and I'm uploading a video about what it's like to date a Muslim when you're not Muslim yourself, because apparently that's mind-blowing for some people. But so I was like, we should really make sure we put up a vlog or a video. What? We should...
It's not
Oh my gosh. Okay, throwback to our first video. And he's sitting there talking about drinking a pop and like, oh yeah, this is so good. And he does that same thing. He's like, that's not open. Like, what the heck? I'll link to it below. You're too much. So anyways, before I put up that video, I was like, I feel like we need to do his conversion story video, like why he's Muslim and stuff. Also just because like maybe you guys are wondering, because sometimes he like mentions it and we've never really acknowledged it other than that. So that's what this is today.
So, it is, I mean, usually I just tell people, oh, it's a long story. So, spoilers ahead. Alright, so, the beginning. So, I guess you could say it started when I was in K-12. Because, okay, so, obviously, 9/11 happened. And
That's a thing.
Yeah, so, let's start.
It was bad.
Yeah, that was not a good thing that happened. So, I honestly, if you go to the very, very, very beginning of my conversion story, I guess you start with the fact that 9/11 happened, which sounds terrible, but no, 9/11 did not inspire me to be Muslim. No, that's not what
I might cut this part out. We just went down a hole right here.
Anyway, so we grew up in a community that, how do you say it, really doesn't appreciate people that aren't white and doesn't appreciate people who aren't Christian. And don't much appreciate people that are really different in much of any way. And so before we realized that I was autistic, it was just, I was the kid, something was wrong with me.
Which will be another video.
And
because that hasn't been revealed yet either.
And
we've never talked about that.
So they didn't like me, and these were the same people who didn't like Muslims. So I guess it really started with this inkling of a thought of, well, they don't like me, and they don't like Muslims, but I like me, so maybe Muslims aren't that bad. And when I got older, to be about 17, 18 years old, I started to kind of realize, okay, well, I've never really met a Muslim that I know of. And they're occasionally in the news, but still, it's if these people that I lived among hate them, then they're probably fine. Just as a matter of course. And so I eventually worked in a gas station in Toledo. And we had, I think it was 2, maybe 3, I think it was 2 regular customers that I knew were Muslim. And I don't think they were like super ultra practicing, but they were observant. Like they would fast Ramadan and they would give a Muslim greeting if someone prompted. And it occurred to me, okay, these people don't like me, they don't like Muslims, but the 2 Muslims that I've met, even if it's just in passing as the cashier behind the register at the gas station, they're perfectly fine. They're not running into the store and hollering bloody murder, blah, blah, blah. That's not what they're doing. So, that was articulate. That was hard to do it. Anyway, so I eventually got to the point where I thought, okay, you hear what Fox News said, Fox News, and you hear about what the Muslims do, like I would see the Shia festival, where they pay homage to the Prophet's grandson and his martyrdom, and that was a kind of a turnoff to me. And so for the longest time, I was like, okay, I'm not Muslim, because at that time I was a Christian Universalist. Even though I was baptized Catholic, and I had a cousin who would take me to church sometimes. So
take me to church. Sorry, he doesn't even know that song.
I don't.
Keep going.
I was like, this is not a reference I know. And so I had a cousin that would take us to church when we were little, and so I was mildly religious. It was just I had a lot of questions that I didn't know anyone enough to trust to actually get answers from, which is weird considering I lived literally 2 minutes away from a Catholic church for 12 years. Anyway, so I had a Bible and I read a little bit of it, so I'm not completely unfamiliar with it, and I know a lot of the basic stories. I know where certain parts are. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I have the same amount of biblical knowledge as someone who actually went to theology school. I'm not going to do that.
But you do have quite a bit of knowledge.
But I have enough knowledge that I can hold my own against someone who also isn't theologically trained and something like that. I don't know nothing.
You can hold your own against your average Christian.
I would say so.
Yes.
Especially the people that are just nominally Christian, where it's like a cultural identity for them. They don't actually know that much about it. In any case, so I had the mild religious curiosity. I wanted to do that. And Fox News and all these people on Facebook and all these online threads would always go on about, oh, the Quran says this, the Quran says that, Muslims do this because of this, that it said. They blow themselves up, they get 72 versions, and things like that. It's like, okay, let me hear this straight from the horse's mouth. And so I eventually got to the point where I had the means to find my nearest mosque. And I went there after work one morning. And I asked them where I could get a Quran, because I didn't want to just order one online and just subject the credibility of the copy I got to the whims of the internet. Like, I'm not, because, I'm like, okay, if I want to hear from the horse's mouth, why not ask the people that practice it and ask them for their recommendation?
Go right to the horse.
Exactly. Ha. Well, in this case, the horse is God, but...
Okay, close enough.
The jockey.
Yeah.
Except that puts a man right in God. Astaghfirullah.
This is awkward.
Anyway, so I asked them where would be a good place, and they didn't even tell me. They did not tell me where I could get a good translation of the Quran. They handed me a copy, and were like, here you go. Didn't ask for payment. I asked them how much, because I was prepared to give them like 10 or 15 bucks for it. And they're just like, nope, here it is. I'm like, yeah.
Like, that makes me think it's because, like, they, especially, like, seeing, like, a white man coming in there who's trying to educate themselves and not just going and getting, like, the first copy they find on Amazon. I think that they were like, oh, good, someone, we can enlighten you, and maybe you won't convert, because I don't think that was what they were trying to do. But more than anything, I feel like from your story that they were just like, oh, we can show someone that we're not crazy. Someone doesn't hate us.
Yeah, I still remember that place too, like what it looked like inside, and it was still weird to me because when I was in there were some people, they had just done a service, they did some sort of meeting, but like the whole speech was given in Arabic, so I didn't understand a word. But I remember the first time that I was there, because I think I went there like twice, because I was trying, like the first time that I was there, the guy wasn't there, and like there was one of the sisters was there, and I like almost walked onto the carpet with my shoes on, and she like made it a super point that I needed to take my shoes off before I got on the carpet. I'm like, the carpet's clean, what's the big deal? I don't understand.
And like, okay, so I'm looking at him like this because, like, I mean, I'm not Muslim, but I've been to mosque before with him just because, like, I think it's really good to, like, I don't know, like, learn about new things and stuff and have experiences like that. And so I'm just sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that's really bad.
I mean, I took my shoes off before I got out of the car.
Okay,
I still did.
got it. That's funny, though.
It was
I
just,
didn't know
it
that.
was like, I'm like, okay. Anyway. It also looked like the building was like under construction at the time too, which is why I was like, wasn't matter if I get some dust on the floor. This places, there's sawdust in places. Anyway, so they gave me a copy of the Quran. It was the Oxford translation into English by M.A.S. Abdul Halim, I believe it is. And I might have that last name wrong. But I read it cover to cover. And before I read it, I had already decided that I was monotheistic, obviously with the Christian Universalist stuff. I rejected the Trinitarianism, and I knew about the Council of Nicaea, and, you know, a lot of the translation issues. I had done research that had told me about when belief in a Trinity started and how, like, the divinity of Jesus entered the historical record. And so, you know, I'm not saying this to be like, oh, Christians that believe in the Trinity are wrong, because people believe that religiously. I'm not about to get into that here. But I knew certain historical records, and then there's like the Gospel of Barnabas, which I think most, or I knew about the Gospel of Barnabas, which, I'm pretty sure most scholars like just are like no, like it's not good.
Sorry.
And so I already believed in a single God, but after I got done reading the Quran, the Quran was what convinced me of the prophethood of Muhammad. And so after reading it with really good footnotes, I was at the place of, oh, okay, I believe in one God and I believe that Muhammad was a prophet. And that's the Shahada, so I believe the same things as Muslims. Oh, well. And at that point, I was like, okay, I have the same beliefs, but I wasn't ready to take on the label because of the connotations in the just cultural and political milieu that I was growing up in. So it was a year, I think it was, before I was comfortable no longer calling myself Christian and started to get comfortable actually calling myself Muslim. Then in 2013, around September, I moved out on my own, and the Friday before Halloween, I went to a mosque that I still go to quite a bit, and I formally converted to Islam, and I still remember that sermon because...
Are you gonna cry?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
he got his little bit of crying face on.
I'm just remembering the fact that the guy that was giving the sermon that Friday really hates Halloween. And it's just like, dude,
I know
have
the
a
story.
Snickers. And this is like at the point when like the you're not you when you're hungry commercial's like, have a Snickers. It's gonna be real easy. It's Halloween. Like, you're a little angry right now. You're overthinking Halloween, I thought. But that is the gist, plus or minus a few minor details here and there, about how I decided that Islam was for me. And I have been in it an increasingly practiced Muslim for the ever since. It is now January 2018, and I have been fasting Ramadan. I've been making zakat where I can. Haven't made Hajj yet.
So I have opinions about that.
Yeah, I'm.
It's too scary right now.
Yeah.
Politically, it's too scary right now for me to let him do that. Maybe one day, but I'm too scared now.
So we gotta wrap this up. So thank you for letting me get my lame on you,
and me getting a little bit on you guys.
And so make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon somewhere in here. I don't know. It changes every month, so I don't know where to point anymore. And we will see you in our next sometimes vlog.
Check out my channel too.
Yeah.
He just dropped the camera.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to cut this part anyway.